Hello, welcome back to JJ's Baking House. I'm Ginny and welcome back to week 3 of the Beginner Baker's course. So today we are going to be making a white chocolate sponge and a white chocolate buttercream, and with that I'm going to be showing you exactly how to make sure there's no air pockets at all in your buttercream, and well, if there's one or two, don't quote me on that. And then we're also going to put the buttercream onto a cake, and I'm going to show you how to get those lovely sharp edges that are even. The cake looks like the box cake that everybody else shows around on the internet. So we will get there, you will do it. There are quite a few tools that you need for this one though. So I did say last week you need a scraper. Scrapers come in all forms, as you can see. I've collected, that's not even all of them, I have so many of these. So for my tall cakes I've got longer ones. For my regular size cake I've got other ones. I really like this one. And then there are plastic ones. I've got acetate here, and I'm just going to show you the difference with all of them so you can choose. Now plastic ones are fine, nothing wrong with the plastic one at all, does the job. The only downside with this is you can't heat it. So if you want to get those super smooth sides, a lot of cake makers pop the cake into the fridge and then go around with a hot palette knife or a hot scraper, and the only way to do that is metal. So that's the advantages of a metal one. So we'll put those away and we'll go back to those when we need them. You also need your palette knife. If you have just a flat one, normal flat, that's fine. It's just I prefer the one with the lip, because then my hand isn't near the cake, it's up a little bit higher, and that's the plain and simple reason for that. So I've got this one. You need a piping bag, we need some trusted cling film, some parchment paper, and ingredients. I've got my tins, and then you need a turntable as well, because you're just never going to get it right if you don't have a turntable. I got this one off of Amazon and it's cheap and it's never done me any harm. I will get another one because this one's noisier, but it works, it does its job, and I just look at the sound of that. Look, oh bless it, hey? But it works really well. I can take it apart, I can clean it, lovely. What's wrong with that? Then I have one of these, which is to cut my sponge. You can see quite a lot of these around. Some of them just have a plain sheer wire, so you can put your hand over it and it's just smooth. I've got this one here, and it's got like ridges around it, and that helps it to cut a little bit better. So I love these because it doesn't matter how great you think you are, and some people really are, some people can do it, but I can't. To use a knife and cut completely flat and be working away with it and trust that it's not going to go like this, I don't have that much faith in myself. So I have got a knife just to start it off, and this, and I'm going to show you how to use both of these, okay? So let's put all this to one side, and we're going to begin with the ingredients. This is my general form of method, as you're aware of, so we're just going to run through this quite quickly. Otherwise, if I keep going back over points, we're going to have a video that's about 3 hours worth, and nobody wants to watch me for 3 hours, I tell you that much. So let's begin. Let's put them all up. Right. Okie dokie. I have put my bowl into the oven as usual because it is winter here and it is cold. So again, please make sure when you're heating these bowls, if you are, that you are only heating it if it is really cold where you are, because otherwise there is no need to do it, because you're going to change the structure of your butter, putting it into something hot, and then having a warm air as well. So if you're in a nice temperature, don't do it. It's only if it's cold and you fill the bowl and it's really cold. And make sure that you can hold on to the sides of it as well. We just want to not feel cold. We don't want like really high temperature. So in goes my butter. I am going to put all of the ingredients in the lists, so let's not worry about that. Butter, sugar, and we're going to do our usual. We're going to beat this up lots and lots until it's light and fluffy, stopping in between, scraping down just as we always have done. So I'm going to do this off camera just to speed this process up. Make sure that you stop halfway through, scrape down and start it up again for around about another 2 minutes. You're looking for this to go through around about 3-4 minutes maximum to get that light and fluffiness. So I'll be back to you in just a moment. Right, well, it took me about 3 minutes. See if it stays. Light, fluffy, mousse-like air, just like we've done with all of our sponges. Lovely. Okay. Before I add anything else, I want to sort out the white chocolate chips because everything else goes in quite quickly now. So I've got just regular white chocolate chips. I love buying them in the bag as well because I know exactly how much is in them. You don't need to buy any particular special white chocolate chip with this. You don't have to worry about cocoa. So this isn't ganache, this is just white chocolate. So I'm going to put my 2 bags in here and I'm going to go and pop this in the microwave for around about 20 seconds. I'll tell you exactly how long when I come back, and I'm going to show you the reason why for this as well. Right, 20 seconds, who am I trying to kid? This took around about 1 minute 45 seconds to get to this. So what I've done is I've taken it out, I've put it in for 30 seconds, taken it back out again, shaken it like this, and then put it back in again. And what I want to do, see where they're just starting to stick together? And you feel them and they're just, you know, they're a little bit sticky but they're not wet. So what we're going to do then is get some flour. I've got half a teaspoon of flour here, tablespoon, sorry, half a tablespoon of flour. Put them, and we're just going to shake it round so that it coats. Right, so anyway, we've now coated the chocolate chips, and the reason for that is if you put chocolate chips into the batter and you don't put anything on it, they sink straight to the bottom and it was all just a pointless waste of time. So when you coat them in flour, they cling that little bit more to the batter, which means then theoretically, hopefully, fingers crossed, it stays where you want them to be throughout the sponge. So that's why we have coated them there in the flour. So that's half a tablespoon, I keep saying teaspoon, you'll get it very wrong. And we'll put it in the microwave just to make sure that the white chocolate was tacky enough so that that flour would stick, which is exactly what's happened. So just, there's some fallen to the bottom there, just give it a little bit of a stir around there. With your hands, and we can save those for in a minute when we want to put it into this. It's just that took a little bit of time and I didn't want the batter sat there just waiting, letting all of it start activating and everything. So, nicely covered. Leave it to one side. Now we're going to carry on with this. So, eggs go in. I've got 6 large eggs here. I did weigh them out, they were about 340. I'm doing 350 on all of these, as you'll see in the ingredients. These weighed about 340. So in with the eggs. In with the flour. Again, I'm using plain for the purposes of yourself. And then I'm putting in baking powder, which I've got 2 teaspoons in there. If you are using self-raising, you haven't got to worry about it. And then I'm also putting in my vanilla, which is 2 teaspoons of vanilla and 2 tablespoons of milk. As usual, we're going to put this in. Tea towel over the top. And let it all mix up. Now, I've had a couple of questions from people and I'm not 100% sure that sometimes you're mixing all of this in completely correctly. So what you need to do is you have to make sure that it is incorporated. So long as the mixer isn't going for more than 1.5 minutes, then you've got enough there to make sure it's all incorporated. We just don't want to stir it up too much. Now, once it's just combined, I'm going to scrape the sides down and we're going to give it that extra minute. We want to make sure that that egg and everything is really combined because otherwise that will affect your bake. So the lowest speed, as always, leave that there and get our tins. Two more. Now, see, that's completely combined. Now I suppose sometimes I forget and I know by eye, but that is perfect. So exactly the way we want it. Let me show you, it's all just silky, there's no splitness to it, it's just perfect. Okay? So it must be like this. And when you turn it, you should be able to see those air pockets all the way through, which we can. Okay, I'm part of a Facebook group called Cake Baking Decorating Tutorials for Everyone. And I love this group. I tag it. I've put a link to it underneath in the description box. This is where majority of my tutorials are. It's where I do most of where I pop most of my work. It's really interactive, really friendly, really like it. Now, the lady who runs this group the other day put up a post and said about how she mixes these and said, how do you do it? Do you weigh it? Now, you should. So what you should do now is get a bowl. Oh, shall we do it? Hang on, we'll do it. Right, just before we carry on, we need to add the chocolate chips. Right, let's just give that a stir quickly, because that's going to make a really big difference if we don't add the main ingredient, really, to give you the flavour. Right, that's incorporated. I've got a bowl, put it on your scales, set your scales then to 0 so they all measure, it knows that there is no measurement there, so I'm sat at 0, and then take all of your mixture, put it into the bowl. I did laugh when I saw this post because I can be very lazy. Right, so I have got 1.5 kg of mixture, which means, oh no, maths is not my thing. Hang on, look, don't you love these things? Alexa, what is 150 divided by 4?
150 divided by 4 is 37.5.
Okay, right, so I'm going to say 40. So I need 400 in each of these tins. So pop a tin on. Make sure I've got it all in. Right. $370. Right, so that's one. Same again. Wow, that's way over. Okay, I can see it. Okay, right, 370. Right, let me do the other two and come back to you because this is very boring for you to watch. Okay, they all weigh the same. So now that is how you're meant to make sure that all your pans are filled the same. So if you want to do it by eye, do it by eye. But that is the proper method of how to make sure all your layers are the same. So for the purposes that I should be showing you properly, that is exactly what you're meant to be doing. So, right, level these off, same as what I've said before, don't just come to the side, bring it out from the middle, because if you don't bring it out from the middle, you're going to end up with crispy sides and they're going to drop down, because that's a natural human thing to do, is to start stirring all the way around from the outside. And that's not what we want. There we go. Right, if you don't have I've done 4 here, and I have a fan assisted oven, so that's fine. I know that I can get 2 on the top shelf and 2 on the bottom shelf, and a fan assisted oven is literally the heat comes out through a fan which distributes around the whole of the oven, which is fantastic. I love my oven. But if you don't have, and I used to have a conventional oven which wasn't like that, you're going to need to have this recipe and do 2 and then cook them and then do the other half, because the heat comes from the top otherwise, and you're going to cook the top 2 and the bottom 2 aren't going to cook. So if you have a fan assisted, do the 4. If you have a regular, do 2 and then 2. So here we go. As usual, my oven has been preheated to 160 fan, 170 for a conventional regular oven. And these are going to go in for around about the usual time. I'm going to have a look after about 22 minutes. I'll let you know exactly how mine took as soon as I get them out. And then we're going to come back, and while they're in the oven, we're going to get started on the buttercream. So I'll see you in a sec. Right, so before we start the butter and everything for the buttercream, we need to melt our chocolate so that it cools down on the back while we're doing everything else. So I've got 350 grams of chocolate. I ran out of chocolate chips and had to add my other chocolate. But we're going to melt these in the microwave until it's fully combined. So if you're nervous about the microwave, do it on a boiler on the back. So put some water in a saucepan, about 1 inch on the bottom. Never ever let that water touch the bowl, because if it touches the bowl, you're just boiling it, you're not steaming it. You need steam, not water touching. And then just keep stirring it around until it melts. So I'm going to put mine in the microwave. See you in a moment. Right, perfect temperature for my butter. So in it goes. Unsalted butter is what I use. Again, I'm not getting involved in the salted versus unsalted. If you prefer to use salted and you prefer the taste, then that's not wrong, that's just your taste. If you prefer to use unsalted like I do, use unsalted. So, the butter is in. It is a lovely consistency. Look, I can push that and it indents in. So that's exactly the way we want that. We're going to give this a whip up. You know what we're doing now. We're going to whip this up. 2 minutes, stop, scrape. 2 minutes, stop, scrape. I said initially it took 5 minutes. 8 minutes is what we're doing with this. We're stopping and scraping 4 times. Okay? So you know what you're doing. Not going to do it on camera. I will be back to you when this is light, fluffy. Stop, start every 2 minutes until you get to 8. See you in a moment. Right. Cakes are done, so let's get these out for 1 second. So they're really soft on the top, looking nice and flat there. So we'll just take all of these out. There we go. And then we're going to do our regular trick. We're going to wait around about 2 or 3 minutes until we're able to touch the side of this, and then we're going to flip them over and let them rest so they become flatter. Right, so back to this buttercream. Here we are. I've had my 8 minutes, stopping and starting every 2. Same as you. And there we go, we have light aerated butter, just the way we want it. So now we know we have to start putting in the icing sugar. So, I'll come in through the back. So you know I do this in 3s, so 1/3 of it in first, give it a mix, and you know it must be on that slowest speed now. Must not go higher, otherwise you're putting air into it. I know that sounds silly, but that's the air enough to dissolve all of that. There's our cakes. Those cakes did take me 23 minutes, I will say. Got to tell you that. So we have to make sure that that butter is so whipped that it's dissolving that icing sugar, and so that it's going to really be nice. It's not going to be gritty or anything, which is a lot of complaints people get with buttercream, is that it's gritty. So we don't need to add any more air, we're just slowing the process down. This is it. We're just going to leave it off. Right, how hot are these? Right, I can get it. Okay, I'm going to do this on the back, because otherwise it's going to be in our way. So, 1, just make sure that it's completely loose around the outsides. You don't want anything sticking. Leave those. We don't need to worry about them. Okay. The rest. Another third of this. There we go. Tea towel again. How many times I've forgotten to do this? I've got absolutely covered. Everybody else finds it funny apart from me. Do you know how awful ginger hair and white looks? It really stands out. Terrible. Right. Now I'm struggling slightly. The mixer's kind of banging up and down a tad, so I think that's going to smooth itself out. So now I'm going to put the vanilla in. So I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of vanilla. There we are. Now give it a little bit of smoothness then. I'm going to give it a wipe down. It's all stuck around the hook. There. There we are. Oh. There we go. It's so stiff now. Oh. Right. Okay. And then we're going to let that go again. Lovely. Let's take our white chocolate, give it a little bit of stir wrap. Right. Now, last lot. In it goes. Now, I think that this may struggle slightly, so I'm just going to pop in this white chocolate now as well, just to give it that little bit more fluid. Try not to waste any. There we go. Now I don't need to put this on because the white chocolate is protecting me, mostly, from it coming up. Okay. Right, we're going to leave that alone. There we go. And now that's just going to get left to go around there for around about 3 or 4 minutes. If it gets particularly difficult, just add half a teaspoon of boiling water to it, but you shouldn't. It's coming around okay then because that butter was so whipped. You don't want to add anything in at this stage because I really want to take out those air pockets, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. So let's leave this alone. 2 minutes, scrape down another 2 minutes. Okay. Oh, now that is, look, it's so stiff, it's just stuck. So, let's take this off. Pop this into a bowl as best you can because it's going to come out in blobs. Oh wow. Well, that's going to do something for your muscles, isn't it? Let's get it all out. There is a reason, there is a theory for me doing this. I will explain in just a moment. Right, let's get all this out. There we go. Stop making noise. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go and boil the kettle, bring over some boiling water in a jug, and I'm going to show you how we're going to make sure that this has got no air pockets in it. So I'll be back with you in a sec. Okay, so I've got all my mix in here. I've got my boiling water and my spoons. That was spoons if you didn't hear me. Now, what we're going to do is add a tablespoon of boiling water over the top, and then with a spoon, we're going to go in and we're going to manually stir this up. Okay. And when you've got it on the machine is whipping air, and you don't go as fast as a machine with your arm, and also it's still whipping. Here we're pushing against the buttercream. So what you need to do now is, it takes a while, but using the back of the spoon, we're pushing around the buttercream. Now I don't need to add any more because I like the consistency of this. The hot water really does make a difference because it just relaxes it all back down again. Okay. And as you're pushing, you can see how many air pockets there are in there. And you know how far you need to go. So less there, I can see now as I'm going, there's less and less. You can just push it across the top like this, because what you push across the top like this is ultimately what you're going to see on the side of your cake. Okay, so when you do that and you get those pockets of air, that's exactly what's going to be on the side of your cake. So the more we play with that, you're not going to get them all out. It's just not going to happen. But the more that you play there with it, the less that they're going to be there. You can flick it all over the side as well, like me, if you like. Okay? And then another good thing is just to leave it alone then. We're just going to put some cling film over the top and leave it, because there's a fair bit of weight in there, and that's also going to settle as well. I always like to leave buttercream to settle, especially my Swiss meringue, because on the Swiss meringue I've whipped up all that butter and I've whipped everything. It's got so much air in there, it's kind of floating off in the sky somewhere, so it needs to just settle. So now I'm just going to put some cling film across the top of this, and there is nothing else to do for the moment. We have our buttercream, we have our cakes chilling away nicely there behind me. We have got all of our utensils that we need next. It's time just to go and have a cup of tea. Take half an hour, wait for everything to do its thing, and come back. Wrap this in cling, stick it on the side, go and have a rest. Right, these have cooled and it's time to have a look and play around with these. So let's talk about our cakes. These can be stuck. If they are stuck, that's normal, don't worry. Okay, take them all off. Oh. Okay, right. So, here's our sponges. We've put them upside down. They look flat. Let me see what you can see. Yeah, they look like you don't have to play with those. Look, I caught a bit out of there. So let's show you if this does happen. Not to worry, we'll sort that out. So let's stack these cakes on top of each other. Okay, there we go. That is what you're going to work with, okay? So actually, I turn mine upside down like that. So when you press down on the top here, that's not flat, okay? This dips down slightly, okay? And when they're in the oven, sometimes they just do come off of balance a little bit. You normally get a dome in the middle. When you want to make a straight edge cake, when you put your cakes on top of each other, they must be the shape you're trying to achieve. So these aren't. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a play and level them off to make sure that they're exactly the way we want them to be. Right. They're still quite soft. Right then. So this is where my friend the leveler comes in. So we're going to go to each one of the cakes and see whether, because we want them all to be the same. And make sure, there we go, that they're going to be the way you want them to. Now this is a brilliant piece, but a lot of people just want to come through like this and just keep pulling. And when you do that, the cake automatically wants to crumble. So what you do, keep this end out here and then move this side, okay? You only move one side of the cake. then you've got complete control all the way around. You can put your hand on the cutting side that bit's falling off. Hold it back on. Right. Okay. So, here we go, we're coming round to the end here. I'm going to do it on the next one, and I'm going to pull you closer. So you can see exactly how I'm using this tool. You never want to push really hard down on the top either, because if you do, you're making your cake, you're giving it false levels by pushing the top of it down. Right, that bitch wants to come off, so we'll just let it come off. Okay, there we are. And then with your hands, just rub across the top. And then that is giving you your perfectly straight, so you should be able to go all across them. You know now that that is completely evenly flat. Okay? There we go. And then we'll put that to one side. So, let me just, this here you can keep for cake pops at some other point. So, wipe that down, get a bowl to put this in. I'm going to do the next two and then do the last one with you, so just bear with me. Let's use this with you up close so you can see. So it's the same size, we haven't changed the size at all. Okay? There we go, I'm a bit higher on this one. So we take it through, just so that it meets itself. Okay, then leave one side, leave this side here, and just operate pushing or taking it round this way. Keep turning my cake so you can see. See, this one is staying exactly where it is, and this is the only one moving. Now I've got my hands either side of it. I'm controlling this the whole time so that it's not ripping my cake apart. Okay. Turning again. Keep turning. If you go too slowly, it naturally rips more. Okay. I'm sorry about the noise. And keep going. And then eventually that just pops out the other end, and we didn't move that other side. And that has given us that complete top without ripping it. And then you can just gently go across the top in the normal fashion, just to make sure that it's completely level. Which it is. And there you go. There is our levelled cake. So, let me show you the difference in this now. So if I take our cakes, remember what it looked like before, and stack them on top of one another, like this. Oops. Okay, in fact the top one, hang on, because I always turn it. There we go, look at that now. You've got this completely flat top, and the sides are completely in as well. Everything here is the shape, and that's how you're going to begin with your straight edge cake. If you don't start like this, and you don't trim, even if you think your cake is flat, it's going to be harder for you to work around the buttercream if you don't have this, okay? Cakes naturally do dome slightly, alright? So that's how we do this. So let me clean this down, get the buttercream, and then we're going to start buttercream this up. I'm going to keep you on a zoomed in so that everything I'm doing now you can see properly. So let's move these cakes over. I've got my turntable. I might have to dip down in a moment. Right, so now we're going to go onto our buttercream. So we've got our buttercream here from earlier. Now we are going to put this in a piping bag. So it's settled lovely. Let me just move this turntable for a minute while we work with this. So this is really nice now. And I'm going to just take my spatula there. There we are. And just give it a final little stir there. Lovely. Good old mix up. And we're going to pop it into the piping bag just the same way as usual with a spoon, putting it down and down throughout to make sure that we don't get those pockets of air in the piping bag. So let's put it in a bag, only half of the mixture, and we'll be straight back. Okay, so it's in the bag. Just before you take the end off, push it down both sides. You just want to make sure that it is all air free in there. You don't want those pockets in there. Okay. Right. Twist, always twist. We'll just put that there while we gather everything. So I've got a cake board here now for the purposes of this is for a dummy, so my family's going to eat this, so I apologise that I've used the broken one there. So we're going to start then with, always start with the nicest cake you've got on the bottom, and then the nicest cake that you've got on the top, because it's easier to fill in if you've got those edges. You know, like I've got this edge here that's come off, so that will go onto the middle layers. Pop off the end of your piping bag to around about 1.5 centimetres. Yeah. Okay, now to keep this on, we need a splodge on there, and then in comes with this palette knife. Now if you're using a plate, you can use a plate for this. Tip it over, take off your part there, your parchment, and I've done mine upside down. I like to always work with my flattest point, okay? So I'm central on there. Right. Do you know, I hate it if you're not in the middle of me. There we go, you're in the middle of me. So we're going to start in the middle of this, and we are going to go around, trying to keep it around about the same. All the way around. Now the reason that we're doing this is when people put the buttercream on just with a knife or with a, however people put it on, palette knife, regular knife, we are not robots, we are humans, and the tendency is to always get that outer bit a lot thinner than the middle part. And oh, if you can see here, mine wasn't quite central, so just then take it round to the outside, and this way you are going to be getting, look at the level on that. Everything we're doing now is creating level, because if we are using this and doing this and doing this, you dip down in the middle, it'll go up at the sides, or it'll be down at the sides and it will flop over. Everything we do now is literally for the purposes of making sure everything is level. Now you don't have to give this a wipe over, you don't need to go over it, but I've just very, very lightly gone over the top of that. So now we're going to take the one that's got the issue, upside down, trying to make sure that you get them on correctly so that they line up, which is the way that is. There we are. And then we're not worried about this, and we're going to do the very same thing. Going to go round and round and round and put the next level on, So bear with me, I'll come back to you because you don't need to watch me do it again. Okay, next one on, which is my other one that I broke on the side. Oh, there's a theme here, isn't there? I seem to keep breaking them. Okay, and then if I can line it up, no, I'll put it on the opposite side for strength. Okay, and then we'll put this one on. Okay, excellent, and then we'll swirl round again. Right, and then we're going to put the top on, which again is my other one that is the perfect one. So on that one goes. So there we go. So there is our cake, and at the moment we're looking quite, there we go, flat across the top and at the sides. So there you go, as you can see there, if I show you on that side, that's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so now what we're going to do is any places that you've got with gaps like this, we're just going to take the buttercream and just fill that in. And around there too. Just pop that in there like that. Don't worry about crumbs or anything like that. And then take your knife and just go around the outsides like this, just to make sure everything is in there together. Okay? Now we're going to put some across the top. So, you could do this the same way if you want, with the piping bag, swirl it around again to make sure that it is definitely straight what you're doing. You use a back and forward motion like this to spread. Okay? Back and forward. Making sure that you always bring to the sides. Get some and just put it on the side. There we go. See the dip here? If you don't do anything with that. There we are. We won't be using all of this, we'll scrape some of this off, but right. Take it as much as you can. Got another gap there, you can see. And we fill them in, not pushing down, never pushing down. Then wipe the back of your palette knife off, like this. Okay, pop your palette knife onto the top on an angle, 45-degree angle, and turn your board, your table. And this is then going to show you whether you're straight or not. See these parts here where I didn't touch? Now that is showing me I haven't got enough on there. And come back in again, keeping this straight. Push down into the middle. Keep that arm up, don't drop the arm. Okay, come out slightly. Never dropping that arm. There we go. Right, now as you can see, that is flat, okay? Just the way we want it to be. So we're going to take this again, come around the sides, scrape off what you've got, what you lift. Just keep coming round, scrape it off, and we'll come round again. Scrape it. Right, there we go. So now I'm going to do something strange. So we'll just tidy this edges up a little. There we go. I'm going to come in once more, push right down in that middle. And work my way back out. There we go. Right. So now we're going to get a piece of parchment paper and pop it onto the top here. Dip down slightly in the middle there. Better to be dipped in the middle. Right. I'm trying to make this as straight as we possibly can at the moment. Right, so now we're going to take some parchment paper. So if you cut yourself out a circle exactly the same size as your tin, we're then going to pop that on top. So get yourself a piece of parchment paper. Right, so I'm going to put my piece of parchment paper dead central on top of the cake. Okay? Then we're going to cling film the cake up. Now I know you've probably heard about crumb coating and everything and making sure that you do the first crumb coat. Now the reason I'm not crumb coating is I like my sponges really, really soft, and when they're out the oven and they're fairly fresh like this, then they're prone to crumble. So if I'm going to try and put cake onto this now, or this, every time I'm touching it, see, the cake is just crumbling off. So what I want to do is pop it in the fridge to allow it to toughen up a little bit. But if I just put it in the fridge like this, it's going to dry out. So before I touch any of it with the buttercream, I am going to cling it so that it's protected from the cold in the fridge. And it's not going to be damaged. And also, this is going to keep your cake straight. A lot of people, when they're putting on coats, because the buttercream when it's first used can be a little bit slippy, your cake can go over here and go over here, and that's where you get a cake that goes like this. And this is going to prevent all that. We are just going to put it in and let this just completely relax. Ooh. If your parchment paper lifts, just push it back down again. Okay? Right. So, it's all in. You're nice and tight. Just put your hands around there like that. We've got a lovely shape at the moment. And what we're going to do then is, like I said, this is going into that fridge for about 3/4 of an hour, and then we're going to take it out and we're going to completely cover the cake, and it's going to make it so much easier. It's not going to move around, and we're going to have a better cake to work with. So I will see you soon. Okay, we're about to get the cake out of the fridge, but first thing I'm going to do is a run through what we're going to need. So I've got my buttercream here, I've got my bench scrapers, a spare bowl. When we're scraping off with the buttercream, when you scrape, don't put it back in the same bowl, because you're going to get crumbs all throughout the mix, and it's going to look like it's very close to the cake. It's not going to look very nice. So when you were doing the top, when you scrape, make sure you scrape into a separate bowl, and then that's a different amount there. Okay? I'm going to colour mine. So I want to colour this pink, just because I get bored of this colour. And also I wanted to show you how to colour it as well. So we're just going to take a section of the buttercream and pop it into another tub. And then I've got baby pink here and flamingo pink. I'm going baby. Right. So I'm going to take a good bit of it. There we go, it's probably about half a teaspoon. And then put it into the buttercream and mix it up. So let's take that off there, like that, put that away, and then take my little one of these and then just stir it in. And the reason we're doing it this way is to show you that when you mix in colours, if you mix it with a small amount first, you're going to get it's easier to work with. You'll get a clean colour before you put it in through this one. Okay, so that's really important. If I was to put that into there, I'd be there all day trying to make sure that it was distributed fully and all the way through. Okay, so now I'm happy to put this into here and then mix this up. Right. Now I use the Sugar Flare pastes. I like them. I'm not overly keen on the liquid ones that you buy, just because you're trying to monitor what you're doing with liquid all the time, and then when you add in a liquid food colouring, you're throwing those moisture contents that you've been working really hard with, you're throwing that out the window. So if you can get hold of pastes, I would really recommend them. And an oil-based paste is fantastic because you can use it with chocolate and everything as well then. So I really do recommend those. I've not tried anything else. I hear that Americolour is very good as well. So it's really trial and error in what you prefer to work with. God, my arm's getting a little bit of a workout here, isn't it? Just I'm trying to stay away from the mixer, because I don't want to put any more air into this. Okay, right. So when you are, if you do want to do this, if this is just a little bit too much, you can do this in the mixer. But just make sure that you are on that very, very lowest setting completely. If you've been using a hand mixer, you certainly don't want to put a hand mixer near this now. You want to do the same thing and just make 100% sure that you mix it up like this with your hands, with the spatula manually. Right into the bottoms. I'm making a mess. There we are. So that's brilliant. So we've got everything that we need now. We've got the colour. We need to put this into a piping bag, so we're going to put half of this, or a little bit more, into a piping bag, and then we're going to get the cake out and we're going to start icing the cake. So I'll see you in a moment. Oh dear. I've actually forgotten to say, just before we do use this, I am going to pop this into the microwave just for about 10 seconds, and that's just going to loosen it a little bit, makes it easier to put onto the cake, and also it knocks those last little bits of air bubbles out. So literally look at 5 seconds, and if it's starting to fall apart, just don't take it anymore. I'll show you now what you want it to look like. So at the moment it's really holding its own like this. I don't want to add more water because I want it to actually become this consistency when we finish, so it's nice and solid on the sides. So let's put this in the microwave and I'll come straight back. Okay, so it's not heated it at all, but it's just a little bit not sloppier even, it's just looser, and that's what we're looking for, just a little bit looser. Now I let mine go in for 7 seconds and then give it a stir around, and then it went in for another 5. And that is it. You don't want it any different than that. So we'll pop it into the piping bags and then we'll start piping. Right, okay, here we go. So I have my piping bag, which I'm going to cut off, just the same as usual, around about 1.5 centimetres off the bottom. And then we're going to take off the cling film. Here we go. And we're going to take the top off as well. So everything now is a little bit more, it's just, you can touch it all, nothing's coming off, so this is the way we want this to be, okay? So I'll just take my palette knife, I've got some good bits, get some kitchen roll next to you because you are going to need to wipe things off. Right, so here we go with the buttercream. So twisting, take it to the bottom, oops, and just turn the table, okay? And keep going. There we are. Okay. Now I'm having to use 2 hands because I filled my Python bag up so much. So, there we are. We're just going to do this the whole way around. Don't worry about it being overly tidy. We're just trying to put the buttercream on in a controlled manner. Okay? So this way, we've not got more on the bottom, more on the top, more on the middle. This is going to make actually decorating it a lot easier. Everything that we're doing, every step that we're making with this is all about keeping everything as straight and as smooth and even as we possibly can. And that is what is so important. Right, so I'm going to keep going and I'll be back to you as soon as I'm done. Right, okay, then we're going to go to the middle and then we're going to go around like we did before. And again, this is going to give you the smooth, even part of the cake because it's all around about the same height. You're not dropping off anywhere. Just fill it all in as best you can. Especially around these edges, make sure that you do bring it up around the edge there. Here we go, and then have a look around and any bits, just fill them in on the way around that you've missed. Just even in blobs, it's fine. See my little blobby bits. There we go. Right, now it's time to move in with one of these scrapers. So, to use one of these, you can keep it flat and towards you. So, it's trying to explain, let me see where I'm going. So what you want to do is to keep it on the board here. So it's on the board here and it's on the board here, okay? And then push it towards the cake and move the turntable. Ooh, my mark that I've got there meant I lost that, right. Always keep, now this might sound really silly. When you're scraping around your cake, look here, not here. If you look here, your hand naturally goes in and your cake's going to do this, okay? So what's on the back here, we just scrape off, back into the bowl. Come back, look here, look down, okay? Make sure this is on the board. Turn the table. Okay. And again, straight down. Okay. Look to the bottom, not to the top. The top will look after itself, you just keep looking at the bottom. The minute you look away, it'll lift. So now we've got certain parts here that we need to add, and then you'll see down the bottom here that you need to add. You've got like holes. We just fill these in. Now this is just a process of filling and smoothing and filling and smoothing, and that's what we do. I like to just give mine a little bit of a push down first so that it's a little bit easier to work with. Let's take a clump from over there. Bottom here. Right, so we're going again. Now if you see, I'll reach my hand over here, it allows you to do one swoop the whole way round then. So put your scraper to the side, make sure that it is touching the bottom the whole way through. Don't look at the top, look at the bottom. Keep looking at the bottom, making sure that it is stuck to the bottom. Don't look anywhere else, just keep looking in that same point and bring it all the way around. Keep looking. There we go. Look how straight this is along the side. And we still have holes to fill in. Just before we do, we're going to take the knife, go to the middle, because if you leave this too long, it's going to want to stay in like this. Like we did last time, completely straight, straight down. Control that, move your arm, look at your arm, lift and look at your arm. Do not let your arm move. There we go. It's really difficult not to look at the cake, but the minute you look at the cake, your body will drop. So straight in again, okay? Tilt it, make sure it's straight. If it looks like it's the middle bit can go in a bit, it can stick in. But we just have to keep looking, always at the knife, not at the cake. There we go. I bet you're screaming at me now. I said, I want to look at the cake. And we can see here that this isn't joining at all. The knife didn't hit. So we know we need to add more across these top bits here. None of this was touched either, so let's go here. Just lift it as high as you like there. You're going to scrape it off anyway. Just take a little bit more. And take that out on the top there. And then we're going to do it again. So we're going to clean this off. Okay, we're going to pop the knife into the middle. Okay, finger on the top, tilt it, hold, and keep looking here so that this doesn't drop. And move the table. Keep looking where your finger is, keep looking. There we go. And now we're getting that top part that we need. So again, drop it down, okay? I'm going to clutch round, same as we did before. Keep looking at that edge, keep looking. Always looking at that, not the cake, it's looking after itself. There we go, look at that. Right across the top, okay? So for the minute, we're happy with this. And the reason you'll know it's completely flat, if you take your scraper and just go across, everything is hitting. And that is exactly what you want, okay? We know that that's straight. Okay, again. Excellent. We are straight across that top part, all right? It's not the smoothest. We'll sort that in a bit, okay? Let's get these sides done. So again, okay, straight into the side there. Make sure this is completely straight. It's touching all the way. And then we are going to go round. Keep looking at that one bottom part. Look at the bottom of the knife. All the time. Look at the bottom. Keep that eye in one place. Brilliant. So where I'm looking on mine is down here. I'm looking to make sure that this is staying. Oh, you can't see me. I'm looking down here. I'm looking to make sure that this is staying completely on the board and that this is right into the cake here and it's not lifting out like that. That's all. That's the only place you'd be looking. Okay? So we're going to go again. Lift over. Get my scraper in the right place, making sure that I'm looking in the one place. It's stuck to the board. And let the table do the work. Keep looking in that one spot the whole way around. All the time. Excellent. Okay. Right, let's fill in a few bits. I always want to say it's like polyfillering, which I'm sure I shouldn't really say. I find this so relaxing though. I love this. Right, oh, we're going again. Okay, right. It's on the table. I'm looking down at that one part. Keep looking. Round. Ensure it stays on there. There we go. It is amazing that when you don't actually look, it is actually so much easier to do. Right, so now I have to have a little play with this top part. So I'm going to pop the knife in again, okay? Lift up, turn. I'm going to turn this. Excellent. And now we're not going to push so hard in, we're just going to rest more towards the top. And then that skims it more then and takes off and gives you that nicer look, okay? So, middle part now. Right. Okay, so I'm going to go in, keep looking at the one side and gently, it's almost like you're skimming the surface now, just skimming. Don't need to push in any longer. There we are. So now we've got these side bits that have bulged out like this, so we go back into this. But first I want to get this top completely right now because then I don't want to play with it. This is pretty, isn't it? Whee! Now on the back here, on my oven, I've got some boiling water in a saucepan. And with metal scraper, okay, actually I use this. With this, I am going to put this into the water. The reason you could just get it out of the kettle, but the temperature decreases so much, so quickly. Right. Wipe it off. And then look at the sheen that you get then when you go across the top of the cake. Okay? So I'm going to show it to you with this. Show you both ways. Pop that into there. Let me just grab some more kitchen roll. Ooh. Right, take it out. Be careful because this does get really hot. And then take this, across the top, trying to keep this as flat as possible, and pull it towards you. There we go. Pop it back in. I'm not concerned with this part because we'll look after this in a moment, okay? Put back in, take it out, wipe it down, come in from a different direction, as flat as you can get it without hitting the back. And again, you're skimming right across that top part, alright? Okay, right, leave that top part alone now, I'm happy with that. So we're going to go back to the sides. Now this is going to lift this up, but don't worry. So again, we are going into the side, making sure that it is all touching where it should be, and we are pulling all the way around. Oh, mine didn't. I looked somewhere else and mine didn't. I'm breaking my own rules here. Brilliant. And again. Okay, right. And there we go. Okay. So now the only thing that we have an issue with is that we've got bubbles. Now as you are working with your buttercream, the longer you work with it and you leave it, the more it tries to crust over slightly, because that's what buttercream does. And that's then when you get these pockets a little bit more. So back to our hot water. And I can see that I've not followed my own rule there. Right, so we'll sort this out now. So, hot water, scraper, in, touching. There we go. Lovely. Now we do have some bits where it's met and everything, but I am just going to leave this alone now. This is going to go into the fridge, and then this top part, when this has become the right temperature, we're just going to slice this off, and it is going to give the sharpest mark on this. We will also just go round with the bench scraper hot, and it's going to film this off completely. So I will come back to you. We're going to put this into the fridge now. We're going to leave it in the fridge for around about half an hour, and then we should be at a point then where we can just scrape this off the top, finish it off, and we will be completely done. So I'll see you soon. Our cake is out of the fridge. Look at this. Lovely and solid all around the outsides. Now, remember I said to you to look at the bottom. We've looked at the bottom bit, and we have an outer bit like this, which is normal if you're looking at the bottom. So what we're going to do now is we are going to put buttercream around the bottom. This is the bit that you've got left. Just fill the bottom part up all the way round. Oops. Right. I am just filling this bottom part and the middle part, see? There we go. Pop it through the middle as well. Now I did just put my buttercream back in the microwave there for a few seconds, just because it just makes it so much easier to spread. Okay? And then, right, Remember last time with this, oh, hang on. Let's just fill those bottom parts in. It's all going to come back off, but if you make it as straight as possible, it's going to make your life so much easier. Right. So remember before with the scraper we looked at the bottom. I now want you to look at the top, okay? Wherever your eye line is where you're concentrating and where your arm's going to go. So now we're going to look towards the top, okay? So the top is correct. We're going to sort this out now, okay? So look towards the top, get it straight, and then come round. Keep looking at the top. So looking at the top will make you focus your eye on there, and it's going to sort out that bottom part, okay? You'd be amazed how much just by eye things change. So on the bottom again, look at the top, push this scraper down into the board and keep looking at the top all the way round. Looking at the top. Don't let your eyes move anywhere else. And see how we're getting in there? Let me just turn my pan down, just in case I want the water. Okay. Right, now we're just going to come up through the top here so that everything marries nicely together. Pop some more across here. And then this is going to be our final go round before we trim this top part and give ourselves this brilliantly covered straight edged cake. Right, so again, on we come. Let's come round here. We're going to push this cake scraper into the board. You weight from here, try and put your hand so that your hand takes up this much of the scraper. You're going to put it down, okay, and you're pushing downwards, okay? Get it as close to the cake as you can and then follow around. Keep looking at the top and push down. Keep pushing down, the weight should be in that wrist. Okay, and this is perfect. Now I'm going in again and I'm pushing down with my wrist, like this arm is pushing. Okay, look at the top, I'm looking here, okay, and we are pulling it in and around we go. Around. Just looking at that top part. Excellent. It's really coming together now. So we do have a few marks here, like, and see here, we're just going to put a little bit more buttercream. It's just struggling that little bit in these sections. Just put more on. And here, okay, I have an issue here because my board is broken. As I'm coming round, I can push down and really come into the board, so I'm skipping on this section. So for you, go all the way round. For me, it's annoying. So I'm going to start at that section. Right, down with the wrist, hitting the board, get that scraper right up against, we're on a 45-degree angle, we're looking here, and we're taking this and we're coming all the way around. Keep pushing with that wrist all the way down, don't let that wrist move, and there we go. See how clean we've become? Ignore my back bit again. Like I said, I've got that problem with the back of the board. This is looking really good. So what we're going to do is, very slightly with the knife, we're just going to push some of this over the top. Good. Okay. And then any dips you've got, the buttercream is just going to fill these in. Make everything completely smooth. There we go. Right. Now I'm just spinning the table at the same time as dragging this in. And that is a really useful technique for that there. Okay. And then I'm going to go around once more and I'll put a little bit more buttercream on this centre bit because I'm dipping down slightly. Everything's by eye. Every time you move though, this elbow has got to be locked because this is what is controlling the height of what you're doing. So as soon as you find the right thing, just your thoughts should just be with this elbow, with nothing else, okay? So we're going to go around once more. Okay. Fingers at the top and then at the bottom, nowhere near here because you're going to end up catching the cake. Okay, so fingers have to be right back here, but you really want to make sure that you're on the right path as soon as you begin, and then push down into the board, the whole way into the board. Look at the top of the cake, don't look anywhere else, just that top. And there we go. Okay. What I'm doing now is I'm just heating my palette knife in the water on the back that you can probably see, and then I'm just going across the top just to give that really, really flat top. I'm sorry I keep putting the back bit towards you. Which doesn't make it look terrific. We don't need to do a lot with this top part because we've already made it completely flat earlier with what we were doing. Right, there we are. The heat just gives you that smooth appearance across the top, which is what we're looking for. Let's see if with a bit of heat, if I can just, there we go. There we are. I'm fixing that back bit. Heat and butter is amazing. I'm just going to put my palette knife in and pull it round. Right, and then my palette knife up the top here. Right, let's put this in and give this one go round, and this should be finished then. Right, where's my mess here? So that's where I begin. Really gently now, always looking at the top now. Okay, keeping that resting right on the board. Excellent. One more go with the heat. And then the best thing to do then with this cake is, if it's refrigerated for the last 10 or 15 minutes, we can just slice the edges off, and that is going to give you a perfect sheen across the top and that sharp, sharp edge. So if you can see me doing this now, I'm barely even holding this scraper now. Just moving the table around and just letting the heat skim right over the top of it. And then this section here, I'm just going to take a knife when we finished and just put it all throughout with a hot knife when it's cold, and that is a complete and utter straight edged cake. So just going to start here because the rest is fine. Come around. Because I'm insistent I'm going to fix this back part. Excellent. Right. Okay. It is smooth all across the top there. It's completely flat. All we've got are these skimmed edges here, which we are going to cut off in about 20 minutes, and then we have a completely straight edged cake. So I do hope you found this easy enough. Let's put this in and we'll come back to it. Okay, we're back. Cake is nice and cold from the fridge. So I've got my pot of trusted water on the back here, and in that I have a knife. So I'm just going to cool that knife off there with a tea towel, and then we're just going to, again, remember, always keeping that arm locked in one place. Back into the water again. Pick these bits up. And again. Right, now I can hear my water coming up, so keep the arm up, place it across the top, locked in, watch the knife, okay, and I just take the bits off. Oops. Back in again. Okay, so coming back from here, bringing the knife round. You can already see it coming together there. Again, coming round, bring that knife round. And then I've got my palette knife here, and then across the top here. There we go. Just flatten it all out across here. Let's have a look to see where we are. And back again. Lovely. I think we're done with the knife across the top there. Okay. I just want to make sure that all of this comes in together. So using heat for this, just to melt the buttercream across. A slight little ridge here, you won't notice it. I'm pleased. Look, lovely and straight. Okay, back in again. Again, but don't forget, like I said, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. Okay, so when it comes to this ridge here, I'm just going to warm up my knife slightly, just to show you how, if that happens, you can just sort that out. Because that's the only part now. I'm looking at a camera here to see what you can see, and it actually is really helpful to be able to see it from a different view. There we go, and just lift that off. And we're going again, and we are so nearly done. And I'm sorry if this has been boring, I'm just trying to show you completely, even through the monotonous stages, how you get that completely sharp edge. And it is a little bit of fiddling around. Here we go. Just going to bring this up slightly. There we go. So that it's joining around on there. And you want to make sure that afterwards you've cleaned up your board properly and that it is lovely and smooth. Then just going to pop over the top of this because you can see the ridges. Don't push forward at any point because you are going to push into the walls of the buttercream cake, and it's not what you want to do. And we have straight edged cake, and I even managed to repair off camera my dented bit. Sorry I did that off camera, but that was just going to take a moment for me to try to fix that, and it was going to be really annoying. So go. Sorry, I could just see that was slightly lifted and it was annoying me. Right. So now we have completely clean edges. So, oh, you've gone a little bit blurry. Hang on one sec. Okay, if at any point that you see these parts here, the little fuzzy bits, all you have to do is just wait for this to harden off and just push them back in. But actually I can just push them in with my finger all the way around. See? Just push them in. Delicately all the way around there. And that is just going to smooth it out and bring that to exactly where you want it to be. So there is our completely straight edged cake. We didn't have to tip it upside down or anything like that. It was simple enough. We didn't have to use discs. Just remember, always look at your arms and your hands, not at the cake, because that is what is going to change it completely. You have to control these things, not this. So I hope that makes sense to you. Now I have got a little bit of buttercream left over. I'm going to decorate this off because I just want to make it look finished. And then I've also got some of these little chocolate bars, which I love. So I bought this on Amazon, and it's just, they're ever so cheap, you get 3 of them, okay? And then you just melt some chocolate and don't put anything with it, just completely melted chocolate, put it in, use one of your scrapers, scrape it over, put it in the freezer, 5 minutes. These pop out, and I love them. So let's just put a little bit of decoration on the top of this one. Now I'm using a nozzle for this, first time I'm doing this with you. This is a 2D, so I'm just going to come towards the edge here, push down, and very, very slowly go around like that. And then straight opposite. If you do opposites, you're not going to go wrong. Just down and just go around. Then come to what I would say is 3 o'clock. Go down and around. And then straight across to 9 o'clock. Down and around. And we're going to go in between each one. Go. So sweet. And here. And there we go. And that just gives that a little bit of life. And how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, dropped one. I'll get one out the tub. So I'm just going to pop these in. But let's have a look. I'm just going to leave it like that without putting more in. I think I'm just going to get too busy otherwise. So there is our completely straight edged cake, and I hope that this is simple for you and that you've enjoyed it. So bear with me and I'll come straight back to you. Okay, we're finished. We have a white chocolate cake with smooth sides and a completely sharp edge there as well. Decorated a little bit on top as well. So this is a massive step forward. I understand it might have been a little bit more difficult. To get those smooth sharp edges is quite hard, but I hope that following the way that I've said will help you a little bit more. If you do have any problems, same as usual, just contact me, pop it in the comments box. I will come straight back to you as soon as I possibly can. So next week we are living in the world of ganache. So I'm going to ganache a cake and show you how to do this very same things we've done with buttercream, but with ganache. I'm also then going to show you how you can make truffles out of ganache. I'm going to show you how to do a drip. I'm going to tackle that gold drip, which is the bane of my life. I don't like gold drip, so let's try that together. So that's next week. Let's cut this cake up and let's see what we've got inside, shall we? Right. Oh, in we go. And here. Right then, so don't forget we've got the white on the inside. Oh lovely, and there we go. Oh, if I can get it off. Brilliant. So there we have got our cake through the middle, we've got the chocolate chips, and we also got the buttercream. So that is our really smooth, you can see how soft that is and fluffy. So there it is on the inside. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, I hope you enjoyed this course, and I will see you in week 4. Take care, see you soon, bye.